Now let's look at some radial and diameter dimensions. Really they're pretty simple. I'm giving you this file to work through and to turn back in. So to start with, well, in a case like this, where this is basically a big fillet, okay, because you've got a 90-degree corner that is rounded off. Um, Usually that doesn't get a center line. I mean, sometimes it may, okay, it depends on the sketch or whatever. But usually fillets don't get center marks or center lines. If, it just all depends on the object and the shape of the object. So, but in our case, yeah, we're going to put them in. And so for this one, um, I kind of think the center mark tool actually works better in a case like this, because in something like this, you wouldn't want a full mark. So we would grab it and shorten that back. Kind of like that, okay? And then, let's see, I'm going to make a change right here to my dimension style thing and go ahead and set that to dimension so I don't have to keep changing back and forth. And so now I'm going to do a radius dimension, because arcs are always dimensioned with a radius. Circles are almost always dimensioned with a diameter. And the keyboard command, of course, is dim radius, so, okay, so I'm going to place that, and let's look at it here. So if I come to the inside, it's going to put a node point right here at the center of it. Kind of hard to see it with the center lines there. But if I go to the outside, it doesn't include that node. Okay, now let's look at our properties for this. Of course, the layer, the line type, all that kind of stuff is the same. And you've got all these settings that came from the dimension style. And of course, you can edit most of them here if you so choose, except for the ones that are grayed out. Now, we could add a center mark here if we wanted to. The text, yeah. The thing about fit, I'll talk about fit in a moment, and you'll see this on a lot of metric drawings where a radius dimension has the line to the inside. But if we were to turn dim line forced on, you can see the change that it put in that, okay? And then if I were to drag this to the inside, oh, it didn't want to drag to the, I've got ortho on. Let me turn that off. See, it doesn't want to go all the way back to there. I would have to, it just doesn't like playing that on the inside, which is one of the reasons you can put them inside. It depends on the object, whether they're inside or outside. But that's how dimension fit works on that. Okay, and so let's look here. Let's go with a diameter dimension here, and I'm just going to place it. It's a big circle. Okay. Oh, I didn't want it on it like that. It just, my object snapped. Okay. So let's do that, and let's go to properties. And if I turn on my center line here, you can see it includes it in the as part of the dimension, and it's on the dimension layer. Okay. And that's you can do that. There's multiple ways to do things in AutoCAD if you haven't figured that out yet. And so that's one of your options there. Now, if I were to play with that, forcing the dimension line, So we get a line all the way across, and you see it takes out that center mark. Okay. Yeah, I personally don't like dimensioning all the way across a circle like that because when you add a center mark to it, it gets it, it gets it gets too crowded for me. Okay. I much prefer this method here. Okay. Now, down here, you remember back watching the video with the center line pattern at the beginning of the semester? Well, we're going to refresh that right here. Um, because in AutoCAD you have the ability to draw these arc center lines with the correct patterns, and so I would expect you to do that, and I feel that your boss would expect you to do that if you're working in AutoCAD. If you're working in Inventor, you don't have near as much control um, over the automated center lines, but you can draw your own center lines and get the right pattern. So let's start with our radius center line. So I'm going to draw a circle centered there to there. We got a radius of 9. Okay, and then I want to draw a line, and I want it to be I want it to be from node to node. So I'm going to go node, and I'm going to go node again. There. All right, now I'm going to develop my centerline pattern across from here, and so I want to trim. I'm going to trim that one, and you could come through here and I'll trim these others here and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's multiple ways to do this, and you can do a a polar array to copy your center marks, or you could do this and then you could draw each of the lines from the center here on out. Let me just do that. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But your node doesn't work here, okay? So we're just going to have to go to the center of that. And then trim. And use the shift option to extend. Okay. I didn't do that one. I'll just skip that one on that. And now I use my lengthen command, L-E-N, lengthen, and then DE for delta. And I want it to be 0.25. And then come in here and click on each of these. Okay. I guess I should have went ahead and drawn one there. So let me go back and do that since I'm this far into it. And then lengthen again, DE 0.25. Okay. Now I can take those and delete them. Now, that's got my centerline pattern for there. If, and so, I think because we've got this little circle right here to deal with, I think a dim center center mark would be the best way to deal with this, but we're gonna have some weird. Okay, so we're gonna have some weird stuff. So let's go with dim center. Oh, I could have just showed you right here. Uh, it's right there. There's the tool for it, center mark. Oh, I gotta change my dimension style. Okay. Now, the problem with this is that it drew one all the way across to here. And so if I were to shorten that back, I'm just going to pull it back to here so it's way out of the way. You notice it did not throw off my center line pattern here in the middle because this is one separate line, this is a separate line. Okay. And so I can do that, and then I can pull this on out and attach it to there. And then I can do a line and I can't remember if we're at I think we're at 2 1/8 on the center line, so 2.125. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so now we've got an effective group of center marks. Um, I could have drawn these two right here and used a polar array to copy those around. That's one way to do it. But the thing is, I've got these lines here at the appropriate angle from the center of my circle, and then I've got an arc of the radius for the pattern all the way across there, and I've got the proper little center line crosses right there in the middle. Now, dimensioning this, you're going to see this both ways, in which you've got a dimension for the radius of the pattern. Okay, and so that would be a radius dimension. It didn't take. Okay, so you can have a radius for the pattern, okay, and then a size dimension for all four of them, or you could put it all into one dimension. And of course, we need the angles for these. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that again. Uh, my mouse is not picking things up. Okay, now if these were at a consistent pattern all the way around, you could say evenly spaced or whatever the angle is. They're at 26 degrees, so we could, we could do just dimension it once and then say 3x, and that would work across there. But now then, if we were to now dimensioning our circle, and we're going to go with a diameter dimension off of here, and we'll pull it to the outside. Oh, I'm on the wrong. You see, it put my centerline pattern in there because I didn't change my dimension style. Okay, there we go. Now, I've got a diameter of 1.5, but I've got 4 circles, and they're on a bolt pattern, a bolt center pattern. So what we'll do is we select this and we go to Properties. And down here in Text, here is one of the examples of where it is permissible to do text override. And so I've got 4 holes, so I'm going to say 4x and then a space. And I want the original dimension to be used. So I use, hold down my shift key and then put the less than and greater than symbols in there. Another space. and then I'm going to say on a diameter 9.0 bolt center. And to get the diameter symbol, I go percent C. That gives me the diameter symbol. And then I'm going to say 9.00 space B, comma, C, comma, the abbreviation for bolt center. Okay. And so that gives me that text. Now, yes, I could have done it all in a leader. The problem is the leader doesn't point directly to the center. The way you could overcome that with a leader, and I don't know if I've showed you this or not, but we'll just say we're going to go for this circle here. It doesn't matter if you click it out here on the circle, it's going to point wherever you're pointing it to. Okay. So what I do is I snap it to the center of the circle and then pull it back, place my text. Okay. And then I grab that and pull it right back to where it crossed right there. Now I've got a leader that points directly to the center of the circle, because a radius and a diameter dimension should point to the center of the circle. All right, and so yeah, and let's dimension this one here. Okay. Oops, it's my object snaps grabbing me. Okay. And so we could do a force fit on this one, and if you need it's okay to have multiple dimension styles, so that if you have dimensions that need to go, especially circular dimensions that need to go in certain patterns and things, it's okay to have multiple dimension styles that will create those. And so that one would be okay. I think going all the way through a large one like this is it just doesn't look right. Okay, but there are multiple ways to do the things. Now let's look at, if you've got a really large arc, because the center of that arc is way out there. And you may have a large radius arc, but the length of the arc is not that great. So we use a jogged dimension. And that's the one with the little lightning bolt symbol in it, okay? The command will be dim jogged. And what you do is you select your object first, okay? Then you want where the end of the dimension would be, or the center mark location, if it were to be a center mark. And so I'm going to come down, I'm going to click right in here. And next, you want where your text is going to go. And then next is where the jog is going to go. Okay. And so that's a jogged radius dimension. And it doesn't necessarily get a center mark. Some places may have you put in a center mark. It kind of depends. Now, if we were to do an arc length dimension here, and you basically just select the arc itself, and it's unusual you're going to dimension an arc length. It's not totally unheard of. Most arcs, you may have an angle dimension that shows the angle of the arc, especially more in like surveying and site plan drawings. You may have an arc length. You may have an angle of the arc, okay, in which you would have to draw, some linear lines to get the angle. They could be construction lines, and that would be okay. And you may have a chord length, which would be the distance from one end of the arc to the other end of the arc. Okay. But that's in surveying type stuff. So there's those. Now, here's a couple of other little things that I want to cover. If you've got, and you, there's ways to do it in Inventor that we'll cover in the Inventor class, but sometimes you have a break in your drawing. It's real common in architectural drawings to where, let's say, for example, we're designing a broom, okay, a push broom or a mop or something, and we're doing the drawings for it, and we draw the broom part of the broom at I don't know 1:2 scale or something like that. But then the handle is like 5 feet long, and we're not going to put a 2.5 foot long cylinder on our drawing. So we use a break line, and so you draw it shorter than it really is, and then you put a break in. And in AutoCAD, it is here in the Express Tools, and it is the break line symbol. All right. And it asks for the first point. So I'll click there. And then the second point, and I'll click there. And in the midpoint, or the location for the break symbol, typically it's going to be in the midpoint. Okay, and so there's the break symbol. Now you need two of them. And so I'll take that and I want to copy it. And I'm going to drag out here, and I'm going to tell it 0.5 inch. Okay. And then I would trim what's between it. Okay. And so that's the way that it would be drawn. Now, if I were to dimension this, we would go with a linear dimension across there. Okay, and here's a case where we would definitely do a text override. And so we come down into our text here, and we'll say, I don't know, we'll say it's really 75 inches long, but we only draw it as 25 inches long. Okay, there's an example of using text override. Okay, one other thing here on let's come on, linear dimension. And continue. And I'll do it again, linear, and continue. Now, most of the time, this is acceptable when extension lines cross each other. That is acceptable. What you do not want to happen in your drawings is for something to cross the dimension line, which is the one with the text in it. You do not want things to cross that. Extension lines crossing is okay. Sometimes your drawing may get really complicated, and you may need to put some breaks in your dimension lines. And there is a tool right here that will create a dimension break. Okay, and so if I select it, the first thing it asks me for is the dimension that I want to add a break to. And so I'm going to select this extension line right there, and then select the object to break the dimension. And so I'll select that one. Okay, and you notice it put little breaks in the extension line coming across here. Now it added it to this one. However, we've got a second set of extension lines right there, so I would need to repeat the command again and select this one as what I'm going to break, and there it is. Now, if you use this tool, you need to be consistent in what you're breaking. So you would not break every dimension across there. Notice I took my horizontal ones here and I put the breaks in the horizontals. And so that's another tool that you've got available there. A couple of the other things over here. Um, this one is tolerance. We'll deal with that in the 1107 class. Okay. Uh, Dimension space. Here's a tool where you can adjust your spaces. You just need to play with it a little bit, see how it works, see how you feel with it. Um, and inspection dimension, it puts a bracket, and we can do this in a dimension style, and we will do that in 1107. But you're going to see some of these. Um, and it will put that inspection box around there. And what that means is that when the parts are manufactured, that dimension has to be inspected and it has to be 100% pass rate. Okay, that's what that tool does. Um, Here you can add a linear jogged dimension. It works the same, just like what we had up there with a, yeah, I guess I could have used that one, couldn't I? I didn't even think about it when I mentioned this up here. We did the text override, so I'll leave that one. Let's do it again. So we'll just come across the bottom. Oh, I gotta have a regular dimension in first, huh? All right. Come on, linear. All right. Linear jog. We'll select the dimension. Now the jog location. I'm gonna put it right there. Okay. And now I could do my text override. So I guess theoretically I could have added it to this one up here, eh? Okay. All right. So I think that covers a lot of the things. Let me look at my note over here. Yeah, that covers those things. So um, take the file that I provided with you in Blackboard and add those things to it. Get that fixed up and then turn that in. If you've got questions, as always, send me an email or come see us.